All right, everybody. This is problem 8-4, going over a tax agency fund. The county collector of Lincoln County is responsible for collecting all property taxes levied by funds within the boundaries of the county, and to reimburse the county for estimated administrative expenses of operating the tax agency fund. They're going to deduct 1% from the collections for the town, the school district, and the townships, and the amount deducted is added to the collection that they're going to send to the general fund. So basically everything for the tax agency fund is going to be a wash. And you'll see that in the ending trial balance and in the trial balance on your on your city city project that you work on throughout the semester, that there's not going to be any income, retained earnings, or net assets, or fund balance. Everything's just an in and out on an agency fund. Okay? So let's see. Make the following journal entries. Assume that 3% of the gross levy for the Lincoln County General Fund and the town of Smithfield General Fund are going to be uncollectible. Okay? So the following events occurred during 2011. Current year levies to be collected by the tax agency fund were the following. Okay. So the first step for the agency fund is to record the gross amount of the tax receivable. Okay. So let's see. Thought it would pop up here. Taxes receivable for other funds and governments current. All right. And that's going to be 17,200. 1, 2, 3. And we're recording this kind of in gross right now. You'll see when let me expand that so you can see the current part. And then we record just one large due to other funds and governments, because we don't have specifics yet on the amounts that we're actually going to owe. Right now, we think this is what we're going to collect, but we don't record liabilities specific to the other governments until we actually collect the money. Okay, so 17,200. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now let's go ahead and do the also for each of these problems. It's also going to ask you to do an entry for the general fund for both Lincoln County and the town of Smithton. So let's go ahead and do those right here. Lincoln County General Fund, if you remember from your previous assignments, is going to record a tax receivable for the amount that it states in the problem, which is 2,752. 1, 2, 3. Well, let me make sure all these are formatted correctly so we're not doing this over and over again. And let's go left on all these. All right. So taxes receivable current, and it's estimated that 3% of this is going to be uncollectible. So we did 0.03 times that amount. All right. And the net of those two is going to be revenues. Okay. Now let's do this. Let's do this shortcut here. Town of Smithton is going to be exactly the same, except its amount that it collected, or that it levied, 4,644,123. All right, and that should give us 139,320 as estimated uncollectible, for a net revenue of 4.504 million 680. Okay, so there's our the full entries for the various funds. Now, moving on to the second one, we're actually collecting the cash. Okay, and so this one is easy. All we're doing here is we're getting rid of part of our receivable by crediting it, and of course we're collecting cash, so that one's easy. And nothing's happened on the general fund for town of Smithton and Lincoln County yet, okay? So nothing to record. Oh, nothing to record here for problem number 2. Problem number 3 is where we have this like large table, and the table is meant to help us kind of figure out what the various liabilities and net amounts and all this kind of stuff are going to be. So let's go here to this table. Liabilities to all funds in the first half of the year were recorded. So it's going back and looking, all right, how much cash would we get? Even though I don't think it works like this in practice, like just because you collect 18 million in the first half of the year doesn't automatically mean that everybody's going to get their, kind of their proportional share of that based on their original levy. But anyway, that's what this problem assumes. So for each of these, we need to come to this table here, and let me move this down so you can see it better. All right. For each of these levies, we need to come up with a percentage of the total to do a proportion, because we're going to allocate a portion of this 8.4 million that's actually being collected for the county. All right. So let's turn that into percentage. 16% for Lincoln County, town of Smithton, Lincoln County Consolidated School District, and the various other townships. All right. So if our total here is 8.4, then our total collections, the total share of those collections is going to be these various percentages multiplied by the 8.4. Okay, so let's do this times, well, let's put them on the same row so our formulas don't get messed up. This times this, and let's fix our reference, our cell reference there. So we get this, we got 2268 for this county, and this. So you can see the various receivable amounts here. This table is kind of giving you a hint at what the receivable amounts are going to be that are, specific to these various other funds, the gross receivable amount. Okay. So now, and let me expand this one just a little bit. Well, let me make this smaller. It's kind of large and getting in the way there. All right, let me make this one smaller so you can kind of see what's going to happen on this next part. Each of these funds are going to owe 1% to the agency fund, who's then going to turn around and remit it to the county general fund, this one, okay? So let's calculate what these are going to be. It's going to be the various other townships that said 1% is the fee, I think, times 0.01. And actually, let's do a negative there so we can just add up everything. All right. So there's that fee. Consolidated School District, there's that fee. And Town of Smithton General Fund, there's that fee. All right. So, since you're going to send it to the general fund anyway, the first thing is you don't charge the general fund the fee. I mean, you can, but it's just going to be a wash because you're going to turn around and send it to the general fund. Okay. Because you're going to have, we'll see, you're going to have, what's the amount here? 13,440 going out, 13,440 coming back into the general fund. So just best to leave that one off. So since you're remitting all that to the general fund, then this here needs to be the equals negative sum of everything below. It's all going to be collected and sent to the general fund. All right. So the total collection for each of these funds is going to be 1.414 million for the general fund, 2.245 million for the Smithton General Fund, 3.825 million, and 914,000 for the various townships and change. Okay, so let's record our liabilities. our specific liabilities. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is remove some of this due to other funds and government. This kind of catch-all liability that we recorded at the beginning of the year, we're going to debit it for the amount that we now know the specifics for, that we now know exactly how much is going to be owed to the various governments. So we're going to debit that. And let's see, due to, due to county general fund is going to be one of the liabilities. Due to town of Smithton, let's just go ahead and get this hard part out of the way. There we go, due to town of Smithton, due to Lincoln County school districts, and due to the various townships. Okay, we're recording our specific liabilities here. So let's see, our total here should add up to 8.4, which you can see it does right there. Okay, so let's do this. Smithton General Fund, Lincoln County General Fund, and we have the Smithton General Fund. And just looking at slightly ahead here while I'm copying and pasting, there won't be an entry for this, for number 3 for the funds, because we've already recorded the receivable back in number 1. So that part's done. And the we haven't sent them any cash yet, okay, which we're about to do in the next problem. All right. So number 4 is, Number 4, all the money in the tax agency fund was distributed. All right. So let's go to, so let's do it the easy way here. And let's say, since it said all the money in the various, in the agency funds distributed, let's just copy and paste all of our liabilities that we just now recorded, and we're going to debit them. Okay. And saying all the money in the agency fund was distributed, so that means we are crediting cash. All right, let's take a look at something really quickly. Your city project that you work on throughout the semester, gonna give you a hint on the module. Your that problem may include a something, and actually this should say delinquent, may include something that says that you have to reclass from current to delinquent. That this problem doesn't. This problem doesn't get into that. And of course, you have experience with that in the previous modules project about, all right, at the year end, all current taxes were recorded as delinquent. So you have to clear out the receivable current account, put it all in the receivable delinquent account, do the same thing for the estimated uncollectibles, take it out of the estimated uncollectible receivable account, and then put it in the estimated uncollectible delinquent taxes receivable account. So that may be the one difference, but as this is basically how your trial balance is going to look at the end of Module 8 on the city project, Corvallis, Smithville, whatever the city is for the semester. So you're going to have, it's going to be 2 balances because it's going to get rid of all its cash in the fund, and that's what tax agency funds do. They're basically just large sweep accounts, okay? So let's go down here and let's do the 2 entries really quickly for the 2 general funds. So in this case, for the city of Lincoln, you are going to record the cash that you're receiving, and let's go right here. You're getting this much cash, and you're reducing your taxes receivable by what was it, 1.344 million or something? Because remember, part of it's a fee. Part of what we're getting there is a fee. So, oh, I know where we recorded it, up here in our little table. Yeah, 1.344 million is our credit. We're reducing that receivable, and we're also recognizing some revenue from the administrative fees that are coming over from the agency fund that we collected from all those other governments. Okay. Now let's do the Smithton General Fund, which is going to be our, we're going to record the cash we received, which is 2245320, and we're going to credit our receivable for the portion that we collected, which is 2268. Doing the full receivable here, because that amount of our total receivable that we record up here is gone. It's considered paid, but we have to recognize the expenditure here of the collection fees, which is going to be a debit of 22680 right there. And of course, the various townships and the consolidated school district will have similar looking entries to this one, where you're paying the expenditure of the administrative fee and you're reducing your receivable and collecting cash. So the last question there is which financial statements should the tax agency fund prepare? It's a statement of fiduciary net assets is basically the only one, as we mentioned. And on the statement of fiduciary net assets also, it would be combined with any other agency funds that the Lincoln County might have on that statement of fiduciary net assets. As agency accounts, they're important, but they're not really material to kind of the overall picture of health of a government. As I said, they're basically sweep accounts. So anyway, that'll do it for problem number 8-4. Hope this was useful to you.